Welcome to another episode of the Let's Think About It podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mo, and I'm excited to be here yet again. And with I'm going to start by asking, have you had these thoughts? And I'm going to read 10 thoughts, okay? Here we go. I'm not qualified for this position. I got here by luck, not skill. Everyone else seems more competent than me. I'm afraid of being exposed as a fraud. I need to work harder to prove myself. I don't deserve recognition or praise. I'm just winging it. I can't show any weaknesses or vulnerability. I'm afraid of failure. I don't belong here. Think about that. And that's just an example of just a few thoughts, okay? Have you had those thoughts? And if you've had, and we all have, no front on that. But the real question is, when you have that thought or something similar, maybe something else comes up for you. But when you have that thought, does it linger? Does it linger? Meaning, does it continue in your mindset hours, days? How long does it last? And if it does, there's an imposter that's present. There's a representative of you present, an imposter, someone that's not your authentic self, who's coming up with these thoughts in your head, and it's coming sometimes as a voice, and it's an imposter. It's not the real you. It's not. It never is. What I'm going to do today is help create more awareness, more self-awareness, and how you could get through that when that imposter shows up. Help you create a strategy to be more intentional when this imposter shows up. So here's the thing. We all have these thoughts. We really do. They come and they go all the time. Where it becomes a problem is when the thoughts linger. That's when the imposter is present. That's when that voice starts to take over and the negative emotional type feelings come along with that. It does. Now, check me out here. The first step in identifying if the imposter is present is understanding your feelings in that moment. I know you're not a Philly type person. I get it, right? But if you're not, then what's the indicator to know when the imposter is present? So think about that. Really think about that. That's what this podcast is, by the way. Let's think about it. But think about that. When you're feeling worried, just think of the feeling of worried. Think of the feeling of doubt, uncertainty, disappointment, guilt. Typically, the imposter is present because when you have those feelings, a thought might be, I'm afraid of failure. To have a thought of being afraid of failure, you're not going to be excited about that. There's some sort of disappointment around that. So the first thing that you can do to dismiss this imposter is to know your state of being, of what that feeling is in that moment. That's the trigger. So when you feeling hesitant to make a decision, think about that. We all have to make decisions, and sometimes it's a tough decision, right? And you're feeling afraid, worried. What's that thought in that moment? Is the imposter present? He is or she is, because you haven't made the decision because you're worried. You're judging a particular outcome before the decision is even made, and it's scary, right? The imposter is present. He's telling you or she's telling you it's not going to work out. Or worst case scenario, you're going to look embarrassed. They're going to say this, they're going to do that, they're going to this and that, right? Imposter is present. So how about the moment you feel nervous, worried, afraid, that you utilize that as the trigger to take action. Utilize it as the trigger to remind you this is the time not to be afraid. This is the time that I will be successful. This is the time I am knowledgeable. And guess what? That's the first step in creating awareness to dismiss this imposter that's present. Because that's the goal when it comes down to taking action, when it comes to making certain decisions, moving forward, whatever. The imposter have a tendency to show up in those times because we typically don't know what that result is going to be, and we're trying to project what that outcome is. And we struggle with figuring out what that outcome potentially is going to be. So it becomes scary as hell because we may fail. And that's when the imposter becomes present. The more you linger, the stronger the imposter stays present. So having more awareness around what your feelings are is the key to moving past this imposter when it shows up. The other thing that you can do is mindfulness. And I've talked about this before. We are consumed from social media, the news, family members, friends, TV, newspaper, any outlet that we are aware of, ads, any of that negative. And we absorb it day in and day out into our consciousness. That's a fact. But what are you doing to offset that with positivity into your mindset? If you're not doing anything and just the bare minimum of just allowing things into your consciousness that are negative, guess what? It just becomes part of your being. And our family, our friends contribute to that without even knowing, right? Just certain comments as we're growing up as kids. Oh, that's never going to work. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, that's too tough. Oh, that's not possible. All of this. There's millions of things that comes into our consciousness daily. That's we can't this, we can't that, shit in this, right? That contributes towards the imposter when it shows up. And the mindfulness approach is creating more positivity into your consciousness. And there's so many ways that you can do that. And the first thing that comes to my mind with mindfulness is meditation. Meditation is the easiest form of mindfulness that we can do, that we have control over. And we think it's easy to assume that meditation is this 30-minute process that you have to go through of just clear silence and not being interrupted. Meditation is what you make meditation to be and how you define meditation to be and what works for you to create the mindfulness. For me, the meditation is just breathing techniques. And I do this throughout the day, just pausing and taking deep breaths and reminding myself how great of a man I am all day, every day, throughout the day. Just saying, you know what, Mo, you're awesome. Man, dude, you're killing it. Man, you are the best version of yourself. Man, Mo, I'm so proud of you. Damn, you look good, bro. I feel you. All of that. That's my version of meditation and mindfulness for myself. And then what I also do is I journal. I write affirmations. I got a notebook that I filled up with affirmations. Remember when we were in elementary school? I'm old school, but I remember when I was in elementary school, you'll get in trouble. And the task was to go write something on the board. I will not, blah, 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 right? I will not this, I will not that, whatever. But think about that. You did that. We did that when we got in trouble to put into our consciousness that we will not do this again. And it becomes a reminder subconsciously. I take the approach of writing that in an affirmation standpoint. I am great. I am prosperity. I am successful. I am brilliant. I am amazing. I am an amazing husband. I am an amazing father. I am an amazing son. I am an amazing brother. I am happy. I am joy. I am love. I am awesomeness. I'm intentionally putting positive affirmations into my mindset. This is what happens when I do that. And I'm intentional about doing that. See, the imposter shows up saying, oh, Mo, this isn't going to work. If you do this, people may think that. That's what happens because I experience it too. But because I'm intentional about the positive affirmations that I put in my mindset, right? That imposter doesn't linger. It becomes a mere thought that just passes, and it comes in and it goes right out, and I keep it moving. I have a decision to make. And in the moment that I have to make a decision, a nervousness feeling comes up. That's the trigger to tell me that I need to make a decision. Okay. And then I just make the decision because I have the awareness in that moment that the imposter is trying to be present to dissuade me from making a decision. See, and how he dissuades me from making a decision is to distract me of the nervousness of what I'm feeling. And now my energy and my attention is focused on the nervousness of what I'm feeling. And in that moment, being focused on the nervousness, I'm not productive. I'm not making a decision because my energy and my attention is all geared towards the nervousness, the fear, the doubt. And in that moment, with my attention focused on that, avoidance happened. Avoidance. And when I avoid it, I think it goes away because it feels normal. I waited for that nervousness to go away. But at the end of the day, a decision was never made because it was avoided. And the imposter shows up again at a later time, later date. Allah, you're in this cycle that continues to repeat itself because the imposter hasn't been addressed. It never has. And when that imposter isn't addressed, it keeps resurfacing in different forms. That's why when people are in these positions at work, I hate my job, I hate this, I hate that, but they never address the imposter and they avoid it. And the biggest avoidance of it is to find another job without addressing it. That's what a lot of people do. I hate my manager. I don't like this person. You know what? I'm just going to find another job. You can do that. But in the relations with your supervisor, maybe you never addressed the real root of the situation because you was afraid to have a difficult conversation with your supervisor because the imposter was present convincing you that if you speak up for yourself, it's not going to go well. You're going to be perceived a different way, a certain way. And guess what? You bust your ass to find another job. All is good. So you think. Because the imposter resurfaces in your new job in a different form, forcing another reality that you have to deal with it. And it looks exactly the same, but a different situation. It's in a different person. It's in a different form. And that imposter is back present because it's never been addressed. It's always been avoided. So think about it. Think about that. Whatever goal you have and why you haven't achieved that goal, is the imposter really present that's preventing you from achieving that goal? Think about that. Have you addressed the imposter that's limiting you? Okay. The other way to approach this imposter, acknowledgement, the easiest thing you can do. And here's what that looked like. I'm afraid that I might fail. You know what? It's okay to feel that I'm afraid to fail. Anybody would feel afraid to fail in this situation. It's okay to have the feelings that I have about failing. But you know what? I'm not going to fail. See, in that thought process, I acknowledge that I don't want to fail. No one wants to fail. So I just acknowledge it. Now I make a decision to move forward, to take action. You see the difference? You can be afraid to fail, right? That's normal. We all have those feelings. You can be afraid to fail, but avoiding the situation isn't going to help you move the needle in getting rid of the imposter. The avoidance part is what creates it to resurface, the imposter to resurface. So just acknowledge it. Yeah, it's a scary moment. Yeah, I don't do well with change, but it's going to be different this time. Here's what I'm going to do. And I just take action, or you take action. Another thing that you can do to help offset this imposter is talk to someone you trust, someone with positivity. Don't talk to someone that's negative because they'll reinforce the imposter. You got to find someone in your world that gives you positivity that reinforces the goodness and the value that you bring. See, when you have that, that becomes encouraging for you to take action and move forward. Having a coach, voila, your boy here, Coach Mo, not just a coach though, a mentor, a counselor, a really good friend who's very successful, optimistic. That's what you need in your circle of influence so that you can get this out of your head. The imposter is in our head. And as long as we continue to carry the imposter in our head, we begin to believe the story to be true. We begin to believe that whatever the is saying is true. And when you have that false belief of this imposter in your head, you're limited. That's why you begin to avoid. That's why fear comes up. That's why you become disappointed. All of these things. You forget. It's easier to forget about affirmations and things like that because the imposter is very present. But when you have someone to talk to, and that's the value of what I love doing around coaching, is helping people to create self-awareness. It's not that I'm telling people what to do. I'm asking these questions, and as they're answering these questions for themselves, most people, they start realizing like, damn, I've been in my own head. In my own head. I didn't even realize that. And I was believing this shit that the imposter was telling me to be true. And then guess what? You dismiss it and you take action and all is good. That's how it typically works. Just like you have, let's just say a presentation to do, you're nervous and all of this stuff, right? You're afraid, oh, this is scary. You have all of this. The imposter is present. He's present, right? But then the moment that the action of presenting and people are into your presentation, they said, this is great, great job, blah, blah, blah. But the moment you started presenting, guess what? The imposter took a backseat. It's the action, right? And you're not in your head anymore while you're speaking and presenting. That's the key. So talking to someone gets you out of your own head, but it has to be someone that you respect, someone that you trust, someone that provides optimism, someone that's caring, that's not going to fill your head with their fears. When you can find that person, that's what you need. And then you can even be intentional about that. You can tell the person, you can be intentional. Tell the person, hey, there's going to be some times I want to talk to you. I don't need you to give me any advice. I just need you to listen. And if you can listen, that allows me to just talk some things out of my mind. And doing that in itself can help diminish the imposter from reoccurring in that circumstance. And if I need advice, I will ask for you to give me advice. You can set those ground rules with the relationship of the person that you choose to talk to. That's being intentional, because we do have people in our lives who love to give advice. They want to be helpful. But sometimes their helpfulness can be putting their fears into you because they feel that if you try something, you may fail because they tried it and they failed. And through their experience, you'll have the same experience. That's not helpful. That's not helpful, right? And you want someone that's there to really just listen, empathically listen without advice, and gives you the space to talk through what's in your head. And as you're talking through what's in your head, you'll figure it out. You will. You will. You just got to get it out of your head. That's the value of doing that, okay? So self-awareness, mindfulness, acknowledgement, and speaking with a friend, a loved one, coach, getting it out are 4 areas of things that you can do to limit the imposter for continuously showing up and dissuading you in certain circumstances. If you do that, you'll be good. You'll start moving the needle in the right direction. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I didn't say that. But with anything that we do, it's repetition. Remember that. It's repetition. You got to practice. And it's always going to be easiest to do nothing. It is. It's going to be easiest to do nothing. You're listening to this right now. You're like, yeah, Mo, you're right, man. Yeah, I'm going to try this, man. Halfway through the day, the imposter's going to show up. Man, we don't got time to do what Mo was talking about. And you do nothing. And guess what? You start making excuses. Oh, I'll get to doing it. I'll get to this mindfulness thing. Or I'll get to this self-awareness thing. You putting it off. You putting it off. And the more you put it off, the stronger the imposter becomes. That's just how it works. And you don't even realize that's what's happening until after the fact that you've been dwelling on a situation around like saying, I don't belong here. And you've been dwelling on it for an hour. And you're like, damn, this is what Mo was talking about an hour later. That's how all of this works, man. That's how all of it works. And you know what I'm saying. You all know what I'm saying. It's just like when you go to a training and you hear something really good. Yeah, this is good. This is great. You taking notes. You're doing all of this stuff, right? Yeah, I'm going to incorporate that. And you leave the training, you do nothing. You forget about it because it's easiest to do nothing. It's easiest to stay where you are in autopilot, allowing the imposter to rule your being. That's the easiest thing you can do. So I challenge you. I really do. I challenge you right now to create more self-awareness for yourself. Meaning, like I said, have awareness of what those feelings are. When you feel the trigger of being afraid, disappointed, any of that's the trigger to take action. That's the trigger to let you know that the imposter is present. So start with that. Talk to a friend, colleague, establish some sort of relationship where you have the space to talk through these things. Do that. Okay. Acknowledgement. It's okay to acknowledge that you're afraid. In that acknowledgement, decide to take action and move forward. It will go away. It will go away. And it helps limit the imposter from being present. And then finally, mindfulness. Okay. Just gratitude. Have some gratitude. Create some acts for yourself where you're incorporating more gratitude. And you do those things, you'll keep that imposter at bay. And you'll just naturally start feeling better about yourself all day, every day. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Peace.